Elon Musk is now a trillionaire. The bottom half of America, roughly 171 million people, own about $4 trillion combined. That means Elon Musk alone has a fortune equal to about 1/4 of what the bottom half of the country owns. At that scale, the question is not whether if Tesla is successful or if SpaceX is impressive. The question is whether one man has created enough value for society to justify that net worth. The best way to judge Elon Musk is against his peers, people who already created world-changing technologies, world-changing companies. So really, let's look at this objectively. Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, these people transformed our daily lives, things we do every day. Let's look at Bill Gates. Bill Gates created software. He created the operating system. Over 1.4 billion people, even in 2026, use his operating system to run their business, to basically use a computer in their daily lives. It's transformative because it hits on our daily fundamental infrastructure of our lives and how we operate every single day. It has scale. Same thing with Jeff Bezos, right? Almost everything you buy when it comes to retail, you're purchasing from Amazon. Billions of people, over 12 billion deliveries. Same thing with Apple's iPhone, right? Over 2.5 billion people are using the iOS operating system and the iPhone. It fundamentally transformed communications, being on the internet, and basically the mobile digital revolution. So the scale of actual people's lives is correlative with their wealth, especially like Amazon's Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates, right? They're worth $100 billion, but over billions of people are using their products in their daily lives. So that should be the standard to look at Elon Musk worthing $1 trillion. Here's the reality. Tesla is a great car company. He revolutionized and solves a lot of problems in the electric car industry. He made a stylish car. He solved problems with batteries. He created a vertical integrating factory where you can basically manufacture this stuff. Now, this is transformative for the industry and people moving forward that want to get into electric cars. So he definitely accomplished a lot, but let's look at the scale in which it's affecting everyday people's lives. Still, less than 1% of cars globally are actually electric cars. And when it comes to Elon Musk's share, it's even smaller than that. It's less than 1%. So less than 1% of society even drives his car. So when you look at him being worth $1 trillion, has his most prized possession, which is Tesla, it might become SpaceX soon, actually impact people's lives at the scale of a Jeff Bezos or a Bill Gates. It just does not even come close. I mean, they got billions of people using their operating system, billions of people using their phones, and you just got single digits or double digit million people driving your car. So how are you worth 3 times their net worth in a shorter period of time based on what you actually done? Is electric cars changing everyday people's lives? No. So when I look at the $1 trillion valuation, it does not add up. Now let's look at SpaceX. Now, SpaceX is a transformative company for the future, but we need to look at what is actually done. And keep in mind, SpaceX been around for 24 years. It is not a new company. Even though it's barely going public now, it's 24 years old. It's had 24 years to innovate. Now, it's made some significant accomplishments technically, right? You're able to have reusable rockets. You can actually land them. And he kind of popularized this. Even though China's currently doing this as well, he did popularize it, right? So SpaceX has accomplished a lot technically. So if you're an investor, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're an engineer, you're taken back by what Elon has accomplished. But let's see how in 24 years this has materially transformed everyday lives. Well, in actuality, the average American does not benefit from anything that SpaceX has done up until this point. The smallest thing they've done that benefits the average American is probably Starlink. He uses his rockets to go into space to basically launch those satellites. Now, technically, he could have done that with already the technology they already had. Does SpaceX translate into value for millions of Americans right now or over the last 24 years? The answer is no. Every single time somebody criticizes Elon Musk or any of his businesses, they always criticize him from the perspective of, but in the future, it's going to do X, it's going to do Y. Well, he said that about Tesla, about self-driving cars. It's already been 20 years. There's no full self-driving cars. It is not mass adoption. So all of the arguments that people were defending him when his company was overvalued, Tesla, has not come to pass. Same thing with SpaceX. It's been 24 years. They've been in operation for 24 years. And at the end of the day, yes, it's a technical feat to have a rocket re-land, but the claim is it's going to reduce the cost of space, basically space lunges, and then all these wonderful things are going to happen in space. But it's been 24 years and materially, it has not transformed the lives of everyday people. So again, $1 trillion valuation. Both companies so far have not transformed the lives of millions of people, yet he's getting touted as the #1 entrepreneur. About time he's done, they'll consider him the #1 entrepreneur in history. But if you look at the scale of adoption, he actually has not been successful. I think one of the main things we need to understand about Elon Musk is almost all of his claim to fame, almost all of his defenders are always based on his technology's potential and what it's going to do to transform the future. Again, if you look at all of the companies that he's involved in, every single one of their market penetration, that means millions of people actually benefiting from his solutions, is very, very low. And everybody who defends this guy, defend him on the basis of what it's going to become. Keep in mind, Elon's over 50 years old now. His business has been running and operating for over 24 years. And every time you actually see him do something new, the value of those companies are based on future tense. When you look at, again, Tesla, if you look at his market penetration, less than 1% of people in the world drive his cars. Less than 1% of Americans drive his cars. When you look at Neuralink, it's not even fully an operational company that has a product. SpaceX, even though you have reusable rockets that can land, what is the material value that is actually provided to market? And SpaceX has been around for 24 years. Okay. So when you look at Starlink, even though it does have internet, only a small percentage of Americans use Starlink and benefit from his internet connections. Again, he's worth $1 trillion, and every single one of his companies is market penetration. That means how many people actually benefit on their daily lives using his products is very, very low. So the next question becomes, what allowed him to be able to play this game, to be able to make these future promises and convert it into money, convert it into net worth, convert it into fanfare, into cult-like following? What mechanisms about our society, about Elon Musk, about the capital markets allow this to happen? The real reason Elon Musk was able to basically become a cult figure in society in the last 20 years is because there's multiple forces at play allowing him to essentially not deliver on his promises, but still deliver giant stock returns. And the reality is because Tesla, this is his prime example, is a public company and has made a lot of people rich. At the end of the day, money makes the world go around. Here's what Elon Musk does. He enters the industry. He finds the most aspirational part of the industry. For instance, electric cars, right? People already have gas stars. They don't really need electric cars. And they also don't really care about the environment to that level where they're willing to spend a whole bunch of money on a car that battery goes out in 5 to 10 years, right? So what Elon Musk does is find the most attractive future possible. So he says, hey, my electric cars and the overall plan of my electric cars is to give everybody full self-driving where you'll never have to drive again. And you're going to have a society like the Jetsons with automated cars going everywhere. He sells a compelling future way beyond what he can actually deliver. And people buy into that future. But here's the most important part. That wouldn't last or work if the company wasn't going public, because not only do people buy into that future, but because they buy in that future, even though he doesn't even deliver on the market penetration, I mean, the cars are into the market, he's able to take that belief and it shows up in the stock market and it delivers returns. So millions or hundreds of thousands of people are making money off of believing in Elon Musk. And as a result, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more you hype up this grandiose future that your company's actually not actually being successful at delivering, it does not matter because they see him being worth $1 trillion. They see people getting rich off his stock and it feeds itself. So the reality is part of his entire strategy of being successful at these companies that don't have mass adoption is based on his play on the stock market. That's why Elon Musk is constantly visible, constantly saying outlandish things, constantly giving aggressive timelines, talking about Mars, talking about space, talking about data centers, talking about AI, talking about Tesla bot. All of these things are future things that get people excited. People want to see these things happen, but in actuality, he's not able to actually deliver them at scale. And it's been 24 years and he still haven't done it. However, if people can believe just enough to go run up the stock price, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and money definitely makes the world go around. Now, you might be wondering, how did Elon Musk pull this off? How was he able to make company after company, promise after promise, and still keep getting people to invest? And I think that it's because there's a structural problem in our society when it comes to the financial system and what CEOs are allowed to do in the basically social media age. Let me explain. If you were to artificially, materially misrepresent a company or use inside information or mislead the public in a malicious way to drive up your stock price, most SEC people would put you in jail. They would lock you up. But Elon Musk has been able to get away with basically illegal market manipulation. Now, you might be thinking, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is this. Elon Musk essentially has been allowed to hype up his companies, to give artificial timelines. And you can look at the evidence of the history of all the companies he's been involved in and the things he said about when they're going to be viable, how much they're going to do in sales, etc. He missed all of those targets. Most of this stuff is 20 years in and none of these things have actually happened at the scale that he said. However, he benefited from all those material statements he's been making. People right now went and bought SpaceX and made it a $2 trillion company, the largest IPO in history, based on claims about basically orbital data centers and basically Mars trips. The reality is he put all that into perspective, but haven't actually delivered and most likely won't deliver at any time or any close time frame. That's material misrepresentation. That's essentially market manipulation, but he has been legally allowed to do it under the guise of an entrepreneur future vision, right? But if a individual person did that, they would get in trouble. I give you an example. There was a guy named Bill Ackman. He's an activist investor and he kind of shorted Herbalife and made a lot of money. Well, these activist investors will come on TV and make these claims about the company. I think it's a fraud. I think X, Y, and Z. And as a result, if you make material statements that are not true, then the SEC can actually go after you and basically put you in jail. But Elon Musk has been allowed to make these statements for over 20 years. Like if you go read the prospectus for SpaceX right now, if you look at the claims, some of them are laughable, not because they can never happen, but the actual time frame for them to happen is misrepresented. It's not materially true. There's no material reason why you should believe that. And the reality is people are putting their life savings into these companies based around claims that are materially misleading. Why is he allowed to do this? Because we're in a culture where if a CEO sells you a compelling future, you're not held to the same standard as an individual doing inside trading. And so this is a big reason why we see Elon Musk worth $1 trillion today. Now, you might be asking, why Elon Musk? Why is he able to pull this off? Why didn't Jeff Bezos been able to make all these material claims? Why hasn't Bill Gates been able to get away with this? Steve Jobs? Well, to be honest with you, it's timing. Elon Musk is the next generation of entrepreneur who's have a cult following that happened to grow up in the essentially social media age. And there's something very specific that happened in a social media age that transformed society. And what that is less trust for institutions. And basically when the internet hit, basically media has fundamentally changed. The major television stations, the main news stations, people already knew they were full of shit. And now they don't trust them anymore. And they don't trust their government. And they don't trust basically their politicians. But they will trust an entrepreneur who seems down to earth, selling them a compelling future, and a guy who's willing to go against the grain. And that's Elon Musk. So there's a propensity for everyday citizens to take out their distrust from society and put it in an entrepreneur who's selling them a compelling future that will transform their lives. And that's essentially why Elon Musk has been able to do this. I'll give you an example. If you're just a traditional Bill Gates entrepreneur, you play it safe. You come out and you say, Microsoft is working on a new operating system. It's going to make it easier for you to get work done. And the average person is going to think, well, I mean, that's great and that's cool, but I still got to go to work every single day. My life is still going to be the same. I'm still going to be a slave to the system. This doesn't save me from taxes or this future that I have being a nobody. So that's not compelling to the regular person. They appreciate what Bill Gates or Amazon does, or even what Steve Jobs done, but it doesn't fundamentally transform them lives and get their lives out of the hellhole that it is. But Elon Musk is willing to sell a compelling future that basically gives them a chance to get that. Think about it. If Elon Musk come out and say, hey, I'm making self-driving cars, it's going to transform society where you never have to drive again. So you don't even need to own a car. It's going to be cheaper than oil. It's going to bring the cost down so significantly that everybody can move around. That gets the imagination going. People start to think, what is our lives going to be like when he brings this to fruition? This is different from what traditional CEOs are saying. Most responsible CEOs won't come out and make all these outlandish promises that are way beyond the pale of what their technology can currently do in any realistic time. But Elon's willing to, and the public is desperate to hear things like that. They're desperate for somebody to save them from their misery. And that's what Elon Musk is able to do with all his companies. Let's look at SpaceX, what he just did now, right? Look at his prospectus. It's never, hey, we're going to incrementally get to space. We're going to incrementally allow rockets to take people up, and then scientists can do experiments and study asteroids. And over time, this could lead to new material developments over the next 30 years. That is probably the realistic capabilities of what SpaceX is going to do when we get into space. But instead, he tells you something that's way more outlandish than that we're going to reduce the rockets to virtually nothing, where even regular people can go check out space for fun, where we're going to reduce the cost of AI so significantly by putting data centers in space that AI is going to advance so quickly that you're not going to have to work and you could just get stipends, right? And so when people hear this and they look at the crumbling American society and they look at the politicians who are sold out and controlled by another nation like AIPAC, then they think, oh, I can go trust the government, or I could trust this guy who's selling a compelling future, who's kind of quirky, that's willing to go against the grain. Well, they rather just put their hope in that person than to put it in the old system that let them down. And Elon Musk plays into this, whether he does it on purpose or not. He represents this. So it is the environment, the current stage of capitalism, and the country that allows Elon Musk to benefit from this. He benefits because he just happened to be the number one entrepreneur in the social media age with his very unique personality, willing to sell you a compelling future. Even if you look at his track record, he has not delivered. Not saying he's never going to, but look, he's 50 something years old. He's already been operating going on 20 years. I don't see how much longer he got left to give you this compelling future.